just like Thursday, the boat in trouble. This time, Nomura was able to wriggle off the hook with 1:30 to go, and now they hold a favored position.
We're not going to have it. They called to each other.
Game here is to get up to full speed. Kayard makes his move first, and he'll be going faster when the gun goes off.
Go down below the line. 20. 17. 14. 13. 4, 3, 2, 1, shot!
Another clean start and another good job by Dellenbaugh.
Hi, folks. Good evening. It's been a time, hasn't it? You know, a friend of mine gave me a little heads up on Bruce Springsteen's wonderful, wonderful song about streets of Minneapolis. And I could tell you about the streets of Maine too, because just after the slave patrol went into Minneapolis, they came here too. Why? Because apparently Donnie doesn't like Somalis. I don't know why necessarily. He just sort of got his panties in a twist about our Somali brothers and sisters. But be that as it may, King Donald decided that these were the targets du jour. You know, like, well, you can go after the trannies, you can go after the, but let's go with Somalis this week, right? You know, it's like, oh my goodness. The thing is, a friend of mine, as I started to say, sent me a link to a really marvelous song by Bruce. But here's the thing. It is really important that artists stand up in these days, as they did at the Grammys. That's, you know, it's like everybody's doing it. But here's the drill. It's like some of us have been here before. And there's no, I'm not trying to throw shade, but there's so much we've forgotten over time. So what I wrote back to my friend, we took our foot off the pedal. We never held Nixon, Reagan, Bush 1 and 2 accountable for the grifting they did. For involving, for throwing our best people, our young people, into war. For what? I mean, hell, we didn't hold Johnson accountable. Back when I was a child, well, what I would say is a child. Back in my teens, it was like, hey, LBJ, how many kids you killed today? At the the notion that we held as a nation at the time was we could do anything, anywhere in the world. While at the same time, the weird thing about the Johnson administration and the Kennedy administration was the Johnson's Great Society really did try to make to, to draw a line on um, on a new reconstruction of American society that worked, right? It's like, the end of our own apartheid, our own time of legally defining black folk out of existence, particularly in the South, de jure. But even after Johnson, it wasn't until 1970. Remember, folks, 1974 in the North, in Boston, my hometown, where I was living at the time, there were people, white folk, attacking black folk on City Hall Plaza with an American flag at the end of a pole. What I may have jumped over a few things here, but this is what I wrote to my friend. We took our foot off the pedal. Never held Nixon, Reagan, Bush, one or two accountable for their grifts. Some of us said keep the pedal down for social justice, and we were told we didn't know where the butter on the bread was. Some of us knew what fascism looked like, and were told how nuts we were. Well, now that people are being killed in the streets, just like they were in 1968 and prior, maybe people, if not recalling, are at least appalled as we were then. You can listen to the tunes. It's like not just 1968, but 19. When was that? 1970. Four Dead in Ohio. Kent State. The arc of history's bend towards justice has some unbending, and it's inverted right now. We'll need the strength of Odysseus to restring the bow. I can only tell those who have time and strength to at least not forget the struggle. I don't have much to say beyond that. I'd like to apologize for the weakness my generation showed. But I'd like to be sure you understand that some of us always understood that the struggle for justice was not something that could be set aside. This is Black History Month. I want to, hat tip to all the folk who fought and sometimes were imprisoned, or at least very viciously attacked Angela Davis, the Panthers, the people that did the work, that were doing the stuff at the time. The thing is, if we get out of this mess, if we do get out of this mess, and I honestly think we will, we need to hold these bastards to account. No more sitting sideways. Well, let's just all forget about that recent unpleasantness. We have a history in this country of forgetting about the recent unpleasantness. Not a single Confederate was held to account. Mars Robert sold insurance. The worst thing that happened to him was the confiscation of his property in Alexandria that is now the Arlington National Cemetery, so that Mars Robert could look out and upon the graves of the people that died in the most costly war in American history in terms of American lives lost. Mars Robert was never held to account. Robert E. Lee, I'm talking about. He was never held to account. In fact, he was the president of a college. Jefferson Davis was never held to account. The people that led the rebellion against the United States were never held to account. The single Confederate who was ever held to account was the guy who was the commandant of of uh, of uh, Andersonville. The prison in Andersonville. Only that person. An immigrant from Switzerland, of all people, was held to account. We have a history of this. Um, Iran Contra, all that stuff. Nobody was ever held to account for that. Nixon was never held to account for that. For Watergate. I mean, hell, the only people that were ever held to account for January 6th were the underlings. We need to start actually reckoning with whether we believe in democracy and are willing to fight for it and are willing to say that we do give a fuck about making sure for ourselves and our posterity, as it says in the Declaration of Independence, which we're about to celebrate the 250th anniversary of in July. Do we hold these truths to be self evident? Do we pledge our lives, our fortunes, and sacred honor to those truths? Do we honestly swear an oath to the principles of the Constitution, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Third Amendment, to those things? Do we honestly believe in a separation of powers? Do we honestly believe that we will carry forward the longest existing framing of of a of a of a constitutional republican democracy beyond our lives, or are we willing to throw it all away? Are we going to stand for our neighbors in Milwaukee, in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, in Portland, in Maine, where I live, where most of the people in my building are immigrants? Are we gonna be real? And or are we gonna throw ourselves into little hidebound, little tiny places? Are we gonna stand with our neighbors? Are we gonna understand what neighborhood even is? Or are we gonna just sort of throw ourselves into well, as the founders would call it, the dangers of faction? I will tell you this right now. I am not really fucking happy with the notion that if you believe in God, I can't stand with you. Because at this point in time, as Wajahat Ali has said, we may be done with religion, but religion ain't done with America. Right? We're that it, America is a polyglot. We have to work with, if we value democracy, We have to work with one another. We have to. The existence of God or non-existence of God is a matter of is a matter of a very fine piece of debate. But the persistence of democratic and humanist ideals is far more important to me, and should, I think, be more important to everyone than which God or which no God you adore or ignore. We can have that fight later, just like Pragmatic Crystal just said. We can have that fight later. And but that fight is all, that fight is 2,000 fucking years old. It's not going to end. But the fight for my neighbor to believe in in uh, Vishnu, have the freedom to believe in Vishnu, and their you know respective allowance for me to believe in nothing is okay with me, because whether I believe in Vishnu or whether I don't has nothing to do with my access to health care, to vaccines, to clean water, to clean air, to health, to community, to sisterhood and brotherhood. That has nothing to do with gods. Nothing to do with it at all. I've said on this channel many times the reason for the First Amendment was that people in my people who were Puritans disagreed vehemently with the fucking Anglicans in Virginia and the Quakers in Pennsylvania, and they actually kicked people out, and those people founded Rhode Island. Actually, the Rhode Island was one of the one of the refuges of my eldest Helms antecedent, because he got kicked out of Massachusetts and into, yeah, it's a long story, but anyway, it we have to be together for one another, whether it's a Muslim brother or sister from Somalia, which, by the way, that's why Maine got targeted. And, now Susan Collins is trying to say, oh, I got, look, how fucking rude. Look, Operation Catch of the Day, that's what they called the ICE invasion of my state, my town. I'll tell you this: Portland is a town of like 60th, 60th, 60 or so thousand people. At least 10,000 showed out, turned out in the streets and marched against these motherfuckers. Maine is the whitest state in the nation, and these motherfuckers come in to take out a Somali community that's been here for 20 years. These are racists, they're fascists, they're armed and dangerous. We've got, we've got to take these people out. And when we do, we cannot stop. You don't take your foot off the pedal. You got to get behind the mule in the morning and plow towards a better, more humane, more tolerant world. And my atheist brothers and sisters, you need to include those who believe in that tolerant world. You need to have some tolerance. You can have conversations. You can count angels on heads of pins or the lack thereof. But unless you can give your brothers and sisters in Christ the grace, or your brothers and sisters in Ali, or your brothers and sisters in Allah, or your brothers and sisters in Vishnu, or Shiva, the grace to have their own lives, then you're fucking going down the wrong road. Personally, I think the world would be way better off without uh, uh, people believing in bullshit. My friends, I've lived a long time. People have believed in a lot of bullshit and continue to do so. I don't see it, disappearing anytime soon. Do you? I mean, sure, there's been progress, but let's pay attention to what's going on right now. People are getting killed in the streets. And, you know, people have been getting killed in the streets for a long time. George Floyd, people noticed that. What did people really notice in Minneapolis? Two white folk getting killed. And their lives matter. All lives matter. Yeah, I'll say that. Black lives matter a whole fucking bunch because black lives have been fucking destroyed for a very long time. As Vajra Ali likes to say, now, brown cow. It's like when those voices speak up, it's like uh, we just sort of sit back and and relax, but we shouldn't. The turning point in this is another bit of a tangent, But the turning point, oh, the turning point in the civil rights struggle was the unification of, uh, you know, of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Stokely Carmichael, all those guys, and the SNCC involved a whole bunch of white kids, my sister among them, my brother-in-law among them, who put their fucking lives on the line. And all of a sudden, when northern white kids were getting their fucking asses shot by the fucking slave patrols, which I want you to understand, people are calling ICE the Gestapo. No, they're the modern slave patrols. The Gestapo was modeled after our slave patrols. This is homegrown shit. This ain't nothing new in American life. When people look at what's happening in this era, they're going to see all kinds of parallels. To earlier times in our nation's history, that is all that we need to own, that we never called out. Nobody has ever called this out. The fucking slave patrols at KKK, nobody's ever called this out. Or very rarely have. When Richard J. Daley screamed at Abraham Ribicoff at the Democratic National Convention in 1968, when Abraham Ribicoff stood on the podium and said, if George McGovern was president of the United States, we wouldn't be seeing Gestapo tactics in the streets of Chicago. And Richard J. Daley screamed out, "Go home, Jew." Richard J. Daley, mayor of Chicago, screamed that out from the floor of the Democratic National Convention in 1968. Go home, Jew. I watched it. I wasn't there. I was actually in Montreal with my family, enjoying the expo, the World's Fair in Montreal at the time. But fuck all. It was a time. I was 14 when it was. Who has consequence? I mean, we can talk about the tragedies of the 60s. Oh, gee, what might have been if? What if Bobby, not this Bobby, but the other Bobby, had survived? What if Gene McCarthy was the nominee? What if George McGovern had been there? What if, hey, what if Jimmy Carter hadn't lost to Reagan? It's like, you can do all the what ifs you want, but until our polity unifies around the notion that we are committed to democracy, we can't trust our government, and none of our allies will ever trust us again. My last video was all about how once trust is destroyed, it, it is very, very difficult to rebuild it. So for who's ever watching this, or whoever will watch this, don't just 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 remember, if we get through this, and we need to get through this, and we need to get through it together, we need to get through it safely. We need to do what we can, where we can, when we can, however we can. Me, I haven't really been, I haven't been in these precincts a hell of a lot, because what I've been doing is talking to people, talking to even those people who've been on the wrong side. I've been trying to talk to people as people in real life, in the streets, at work, in bars. I mean, and I'll be honest, the people who've been the biggest assholes have been people in these precincts. Which, okay, whatever. So all y'all who think, you know, I, I welcome all of you. Hey, guys, all y'all who told me I'm a drunken sot who will die alone. Come on and do that, right? You know, that's great support for community. Get a fucking grip. Don't y'all understand? We are at risk of losing our fucking democracy. So, who are you going to fight with? We're going to fight with each other. We're going to unite against the fascists. We're going to have arguments about angels on heads of pins. Or we're going to have arguments with the people who believe we all need to be in the camps. We're going to actually make kissy face with the people who think we all need to be in the camps? Or are we going to fight those motherfuckers and take them down and hold them to account? Unlike the history of the past 50 years, are we going to hold people to account for their wanton destruction of American institutions that built this country into the greatest one in the world? Or are you going to just, you know, give up? I hope, perhaps, we'll carry it on. I hope perhaps we'll carry it on. I hope perhaps we'll be committed to diversity and really, you know, understand that diversity includes um, not just, we're not going to be exclusive in our diversity. Isn't that a contradiction in terms? Don't you think that's a little bit weird? Oh, I'm all for diversity, but that doesn't include Christians. It doesn't include Muslims. That doesn't include James. That doesn't include, it's like, come on now. I don't understand. I don't get the, I don't get that part, you know, as far as belief is concerned, anyway. And or as far as race and ethnicity is concerned, or sexuality or gender, or all of that stuff. I don't understand that. Now, people who are awful people who like, you know, are uh, uh, doing violence to others, literally. No, that they're these are the things that are far more important. Jeffrey Epstein is a criminal. People that assault women are ungood. They shouldn't be. That if they're part of our community, they need to be called out. And if they're a part of the Catholic community, they need to be called out. If they're part of any community, they need to be called out because that's unacceptable behavior in any community. Can't sit there and say, well, the Catholic priest diddling little kids is terrible, but atheists, knocking women down the stairs is acceptable. It doesn't work. Anyway, in the grand scheme of things, if we get through this, the grand scheme of things, if we get through this, where we're all at risk, uh, we can't take our foot off the pedal. And it'll be up to you to not make the mistakes that my generation did. We can't just say, oh, well, all well and good. Jerry Ford pardoned Nixon. Um, Bill Clinton's, or what did Bill Clinton do? I just think Bill Clinton's an asshole anyway. But Barack Obama just lets all the crimes of the George W. Bush administration slide. Uh, we can't keep doing that because at some point in time, it's Also, going back to the Civil War stuff, we'll let Jeff Davis off because after all, he was a well-intentioned freighter. You can't keep doing this shit. If we don't start holding ourselves to the preservation of Republican democracy, to the preservation of the the framework of the Constitution that allows us to amend it, if we don't hold our own selves responsible for preserving an institution that keeps us away from having an executive that is a that is that has total power, we're fucked. Or y'all be fucked. I'll be dead. But I've literally striven my entire life to not see this happen, and to watch it happen in front of my eyes is really fucking disturbing. Anyway, I haven't seen a lot of people come through. I am a pariah on YouTube, and I appreciate the folks who've come by. Um, I guess everybody has their little niche, and I just figured I'd come by and because I interacted with my friend, um, and had a lot to say about our neglect of, it's like, in the words of Benjamin Franklin, it's a republic if you can keep it. We haven't been keeping it for a long, long time, and a lot of people have neglected it. And uh, I'm not calling anybody out except for my own generation, which failed. We should have done better. But I'm not letting subsequent generations off the hook because, they could have read history too. And, blaming other people is always easy. So, whatever. Anyway, love y'all. I might be back any old time, sometime. You never know. Uh, this was uh, this was a kind of an off the cuff thing, and if you want more erudite and perhaps calmer reviews of our times, uh, please check out Joanne Freeman and Heather Cox Richardson, and listen to historians, read history. It's a good idea. Thank you all, and good night. I'll catch you, see you in the funny papers. Bye.